When it comes to power in the American entertainment industry, some names transcend mere talent. They become symbols of influence that stretch far beyond music. Sean Combs, known by many names over the years, including Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or simply Diddy, is one of those rare figures. For more than 3 decades, he stood at the top not only as a music mogul, but also as a sharp entrepreneur, seasoned producer, and pop culture icon. From an unknown kid on the streets of Harlem, Sean Combs rose to become one of the few black billionaires in America, famously dubbed the Midas of hip-hop. Everything he touched turned to gold. But behind the blinding spotlight, the extravagant parties, and the long list of stars he helped launch lies a darker story, one that few dare to speak of from the beginning. The years 2023 and 2024 marked a terrifying turning point in Diddy's career as a wave of serious allegations came to light. From accusations by his ex-girlfriend Cassie to lawsuits involving violence, trafficking, and abuse-themed parties, American media and social networks exploded with the names tied to the investigation. Stars who had once stayed silent began to speak up. Rumors that had long echoed backstage in showbiz started being confirmed. And the image of the king of hip-hop began to collapse before the public's eyes. People no longer saw Diddy merely as a successful artist or businessman, but as a symbol of the dark side of power in Hollywood. A place where secrets were buried for decades, waiting for the right earthquake to blow it all open. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. Childhood and early career. Born in a poor neighborhood of Harlem, New York, on November 4th, 1969, Sean John Combs grew up amid the turbulence of post-war America. Gang violence, racial segregation, and social unrest shaped the backdrop of his early years. His father, Melvin Combs, had ties to the underworld, a reality that left a deep imprint on young Sean's psyche. When Sean was just 2 years old, his father was murdered, a wound that would never fully heal in the mind of a child too young to grasp the loss, yet forced to grow up fast. His mother, Janice Combs, became the family's sole provider, juggling multiple jobs, from house cleaner to hair model, to keep them afloat. Her resilience passed down to Sean a fierce will to live, an energy that refused to accept the cards he was dealt and burned with the desire to escape the ghetto and reach the top. As a teenager, Sean stood out for his quick wit, confidence, and unshakable self-belief. He attended Mount St. Michael Academy in the Bronx, where he wasn't just an active student, but also a promising football player. Still, his true passion wasn't on the field. It was in the beats of hip-hop, the pulse of dance, and the rhythms that moved a generation. After graduating high school, Sean enrolled at Howard University, one of the country's most prestigious historically black colleges. But for him, Howard wasn't about settling into academia. It was a springboard into the entertainment world. Just 2 years in, he made the bold choice to drop out and chase his dreams full throttle, a decision that would later be seen as the most pivotal move of his life. Sean entered the music industry as an intern at Uptown Records, a prominent label in the black music scene, where he quickly showcased his natural talent for spotting artists and shaping their style. With razor-sharp instincts and a keen eye, he played a key role in discovering and developing stars like Mary J. Blige and Jodeci. But his strong personality and unapologetic ambition also led to friction in the business. In 1993, he was fired from Uptown Records, a blow that might have crushed someone else but turned out to be a golden opportunity. Wasting no time, Sean founded Bad Boy Records, an audacious yet calculated move. Backed initially by Arista Records, Diddy began building his own music empire. And then fate introduced him to the game changer, a young rapper from Brooklyn known as the Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls. Together, they didn't just make hits, they reshaped the rap landscape of the 1990s. Diddy's production style, blending smooth R&B melodies with raw rap flow, became a new blueprint for success, replicated industry-wide. In a short time, Bad Boy Records dominated the Billboard charts. From Biggie to Maze to Faith Evans and 112. Every act was a strategic piece in the music chessboard Diddy controlled with both vision and ruthlessness. He wasn't just a producer. He was a storyteller, a conductor orchestrating everything from studio sessions to media rollouts. But it was also at this point that the bright lights of glory began to blur with the shadows of ambition. And once you enter that world, there's no turning back. Musical career and cultural impact in hip-hop. When talking about the most influential figures in modern hip-hop culture, Sean "Diddy" Combs is a name you simply can't ignore. As the founder of Bad Boy Records, a music producer, performer, and media icon, Diddy didn't just make music, he redefined how the music industry operated. He turned street boldness into a mainstream formula and crafted not just sounds, but a whole lifestyle that stood for luxury, power, and the audacity to rise from poverty, all wrapped into a persona that was as carefully curated on stage as it was off. The mid-1990s marked the golden era of Diddy's music career. Following the massive success of the Notorious B.I.G., he began launching projects that bore his personal stamp. Most notably his debut solo album No Way Out, released in 1997 under the name Puff Daddy. That album became a milestone in his career, especially the hit single, I'll Be Missing You, a tribute to Biggie following his tragic murder in a still unsolved shooting. The track struck a global chord, not just for its catchy hook, but for the raw collective grief it captured. Biggie's death wasn't just a personal loss. It was a cultural trauma for the entire hip-hop community. I'll Be Missing You topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 11 straight weeks and earned Diddy the Grammy for Best Rap Performance in 1998. But Diddy wasn't content to stop at emotional tributes. He evolved into a musician-entrepreneur, someone who could shape the market to his will. While he didn't possess the standout vocal talent or lyrical genius of some of his peers, he had the uncanny ability to make stars out of anyone. He transformed music production into a full-blown business model, where everything from the beat to the wardrobe to public behavior was treated as part of a master marketing plan. That approach helped him successfully launch a long list of artists, including Maze, Faith Evans, 112, Total, Loon, and later Donny Kane and Day 26 through his reality show Making a Band. Diddy was also among the first to elevate fashion and lifestyle to the same level as music within hip-hop. He wore designer suits, sported luxury shades, hosted lavish all-white parties, and lived in mansions straight out of fantasy. The message was clear. Hip-hop wasn't just street music, it was the new elite lifestyle for Black America. The luxury hip-hop aesthetic Diddy pioneered quickly spread, influencing later artists like Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Drake, all of whom took cues from the personal branding empire Diddy had built. Diddy's influence didn't end with music. It spilled into the broader fabric of pop culture. He graced the covers of fashion magazines, headlined major brand campaigns, and became a staple at elite events that rarely welcomed hip-hop figures. He was one of the first Black artists to prove that you could go from rapping on the block to becoming a media mogul if you knew how to control the game. But with such an oversized presence, every move Diddy made was scrutinized. To his fans, he was the ultimate boss, a man who beat the odds and took control of his destiny. But within the industry, his tight grip on his artists, even to the point of manipulation, began raising questions about the darker side of the Bad Boy Empire. Rumors about abuse of power, backstage bullying, and ruthless contract tactics had circulated for years, but nothing had ever stuck strongly enough to topple an empire built on hit records and mass adoration. That's why, when scandals started surfacing in late 2023, few people were truly surprised. Many have been waiting to see whether Diddy's music empire could survive once the stage lights dimmed and the truth began to surface, one piece at a time. Diddy's business empire. If music launched Diddy to the top, business was what kept him there when the entertainment world got rocky. From very early on, Sean Combs realized that true power wasn't about how many hit songs you had. It was about who controlled the money behind them. Unlike many artists who focus solely on performing, Diddy always saw himself as a brand. He wasn't just a recording artist. He was a content creator, a producer, a brand director, and a heavyweight investor. That mindset is what allowed him to build a diversified business empire that stretched across fashion, alcohol, media, and real estate. all infused with his signature touch of luxury, flash, and unmistakable identity. One of his earliest and most recognizable business moves was launching his clothing line, Sean John, in the late 1990s. At a time when hip-hop culture was shifting from gritty streetwear to high-end fashion, Sean John emerged as the definitive style brand for black rappers and artists. Unlike celebrity vanity brands that were often run like side hustles, Sean John operated like a serious fashion company, with major marketing campaigns, runway shows at New York Fashion Week, and a full-scale distribution network. In 2004, Diddy even won the prestigious CFDA award, a major honor in American fashion. It wasn't just a personal victory. It was a statement that street fashion could sit at the same table as haute couture. But Diddy wasn't done. One of his most attention-grabbing business moves came in 2007 when he partnered with Ciroc Vodka. Although he didn't found the brand, Diddy struck a unique profit-sharing deal where he became the face of Ciroc and took over its marketing strategy. The results were jaw-dropping. Sales exploded in just a few years, transforming Ciroc from a virtual unknown to one of the most talked-about luxury vodka brands in America. The parties he hosted, packed with celebrities, champagne fountains, and all-white dress codes, became unofficial Ciroc campaigns more powerful than any TV commercial. Ciroc wasn't just vodka anymore. It was a symbol of the Diddy lifestyle, rich, unapologetic, and in total control. Beyond fashion and liquor, Diddy stepped into the media world by launching Revolt TV in 2013, a digital cable network focused on music, black culture, and youth. With MTV having drifted from its music roots and VH1 leaning heavily into reality shows, Revolt emerged as a breath of fresh air, where hip-hop was still treated as a living, breathing culture. Though it didn't hit the massive commercial success some had hoped for, Revolt became a platform where Diddy positioned himself as a media visionary, especially within the black community, where he was often seen as the TV mogul of a new generation. In addition to his mainstream ventures, Diddy also made quiet investments in real estate, tech startups, and even nonprofit educational initiatives. He owned multiple multi-million-dollar properties across Beverly Hills, Miami, and New York, each designed as not just a home, but a fully equipped fortress for entertaining, networking, and deal-making. One of his most iconic homes, his Holmby Hills mansion valued at over $40 million, came with everything from a private recording studio to a massive theater and luxury pool, and it served as the backdrop for numerous music videos and exclusive parties. Thanks to all these ventures, Diddy consistently appeared on Forbes' lists of the richest celebrities in the world. For years, his net worth hovered around $800 million, and for a time, he was even crowned hip-hop's first billionaire before Jay-Z overtook him. But unlike other moguls who prefer to stay behind the scenes, Diddy always knew how to turn his wealth into part of his public image. He didn't just make money. He made sure the world saw how he spent it, treating his lifestyle as a declaration of dominance. However, that same empire, built on total control, was also vulnerable to collapse when scandal came knocking. As allegations surfaced, every corner of Diddy's business began to feel the heat. Shares were sold off, partnerships pulled out, brand endorsements went silent, and the once glowing image of a cultural titan began to crumble, one court filing at a time. But that unraveling didn't start in a boardroom. It began with a name long assumed to be forgotten: Cassie. Personal life and noteworthy relationships. If Diddy's music and business empire was the visible tip of the iceberg, then his personal life was the complicated, murky, and often controversial mass beneath the surface. To the public, he was the ideal image of a self-made man, someone who had climbed from nothing to build a cultural kingdom and live under the spotlight. But behind that glossy exterior was a web of tangled relationships, headline-making romances, and a darkness that many only whispered about. For over 2 decades, Sean Combs carried the reputation of a true hip-hop playboy, a man with undeniable charm, not just because of his talent, but because of his confidence and power. Diddy has 7 children with 4 different women, but has never been married. Of all his relationships, the most prominent was with Kim Porter, a model, actress, and the mother of 3 of his children. Their love wasn't always smooth. but it was often described as the deepest bond of his life. When Kim suddenly passed away in 2018, Diddy shared heartfelt tributes that revealed a rarely seen side of him. Not the cold-blooded mogul, but a grieving man who had lost his soulmate. But his romantic life was far more complicated than just one love story. One of the most talked about relationships was with singer Cassie Ventura, a stunning young artist Diddy signed and then dated for over a decade. Starting in 2007, their relationship lasted nearly 11 years. To the outside world, they were a power couple, glamorous, stylish, and always in attendance at high-profile events. But behind the lights, things were far from perfect. For years, the media speculated about how controlling Diddy was with Cassie, dictating her wardrobe, career choices, and even her personal life. She gradually faded from the spotlight, stopped releasing music, and seemed to live in the shadows as Diddy's girlfriend. In 2018, the couple quietly split. But in 2023, Cassie shocked the world by filing a lawsuit against Diddy with explosive allegations, including coercion, physical and emotional abuse, and even being forced into non-consensual group sex. The lawsuit sent shockwaves through the media. At first, Diddy denied all the claims. But within just 24 hours, the case was mysteriously settled for an undisclosed sum. Still, the real price wasn't in the payout. It was in the fallout. The Cassie case opened the floodgates. Public opinion turned. And suddenly, other women found the courage to step forward. People who had long stayed silent under the weight of Diddy's power. Beyond Cassie and Kim Porter, Diddy has been romantically linked to a string of celebrities, including Jennifer Lopez, Naomi Campbell, Cameron Diaz, and Lori Harvey. Each relationship drew intense media attention, whether it was the lavish gifts, the glamorous vacations, or the red carpet moments. But over time, a pattern emerged. Women entered Diddy's world like they were stepping into a fairy tale, and left quietly, often scarred in ways no headline could measure. People who worked behind the scenes with him often described Diddy as extremely controlling, needing everything to go his way, and unwilling to let anyone cross the power lines he had drawn. And it wasn't just romantic relationships. His friendships and professional bonds also painted a picture of a man who was hard to truly know. At one point, he was close with names like Usher, Justin Bieber, Kanye West, and Jay-Z. But over the years, many of those relationships grew distant with no clear explanation. Some insiders hinted that being close to Diddy came with a price. Sometimes it was total loyalty. Other times it was turning a blind eye to whatever went on behind closed doors. That's what makes Diddy's personal life both fascinating and unsettling. He had it all: money, power, women, fame. Yet the higher he rose, the more disconnected he seemed from the people around him. And when the darkness started to leak out, those very relationships that once made his crown sparkle began to show cracks. Perhaps the first signs that the kingdom was starting to fall apart. The massive fortune and the fall from fame. At the peak of his career, Sean Diddy Combs embodied the American dream of a black billionaire. His name appeared regularly on the cover of Forbes, celebrated as one of the wealthiest black figures in global entertainment. He didn't just earn hundreds of millions from music. He built his fortune through fashion, liquor, television, real estate, brand partnerships, and licensing deals. Diddy once declared that he didn't just want to be rich. He wanted to become a mobile ecosystem of black culture. And in many ways, he achieved that. But now, as accusations close in from every direction, the empire that once seemed untouchable is beginning to crack, layer by layer, dragging down the very persona of cultural titan that Diddy spent 3 decades crafting. At his financial peak between 2019 and 2022, Diddy's net worth was estimated by Forbes at around $820 million, primarily fueled by 3 core assets: his stake in Ciroc Vodka, the Sean John fashion brand, and a mix of high-value real estate and entertainment ventures like Revolt TV. At the same time, he owned at least 5 lavish estates stretching from New York to Miami, including a $40 million mansion in Holmby Hills, a regular backdrop for music videos, A-list parties, and all-night celebrations. These weren't just homes. They were symbols of power, a way to broadcast that Diddy owned not just property but space, time, and the people within it. His Ciroc partnership, turning what was once an overlooked vodka into a premium brand, was a major financial win. Reports suggested Diddy pocketed over $100 million from his profit-sharing agreement with the brand. Meanwhile, Sean John, although it struggled post-pandemic, was still valued in the tens of millions before he sold it. Rolling Stone once dubbed him the pioneer who turned the rapper image into a business empire. And for over 2 decades, there was no denying that Diddy had mastered the art of turning everything around him into money. But then came the lawsuits, like a tidal wave crashing into the empire. Once Cassie filed her case and other alleged victims began coming forward, it wasn't just Diddy's reputation that took a hit. His entire financial structure started to buckle. Almost immediately, major corporate partners pulled out. His Ciroc deal, once a gold mine, was reportedly put on indefinite pause. Revolt TV, the network he founded, released a statement announcing that Diddy would step away to avoid influencing its operations. Brand deals with fashion labels, liquor companies, and media outlets vanished overnight, leaving behind gaps that no amount of money could instantly refill. Worse still, the civil lawsuits brought potential damages in the tens of millions for each individual case, on top of looming threats of federal criminal charges. Legal fees skyrocketed. His legal team worked around the clock, and revenue streams that had been steady, music royalties, brand equity, business shares, were now under court scrutiny and subject to asset freezes. Financial analysts warned that just a few successful civil verdicts against him could wipe out 50 to 70% of his net worth in just a few short years. Even beyond money, the non-financial damage, his personal brand, was beyond calculation. A man once celebrated as a symbol of power, freedom, and Black entrepreneurial spirit had become a cautionary tale of unchecked power and the chilling silence of the entertainment industry. Old photos, once inspiring, were now re-examined with suspicion. Fans began scrubbing his music from playlists. TV shows dropped his name from scripts. Former collaborators stayed quiet or quietly erased him from their social feeds. And inevitably, the American media started asking, could Diddy ever come back the way some celebrities have after scandals? Or would everything he built remain buried in shadow, serving as a prime example that fame can never permanently shield the truth? The answer remains unclear, but one thing is certain. Diddy's legacy, once towering over American pop culture, is now crumbling. Not because the music got worse, not because the businesses failed, but because finally the world saw the man behind the spotlight for who he really was.